So episode 2 of the Halo TV series airing on Paramount Plus is now out. I watched it, and just like the first episode, I thought this was awful. I'm not even sure which episode I hated less, although I will say at least with the second episode, I didn't have to sit through that god-awful CGI from the first episode when the elites were invading. Again, there is just so much about this show that doesn't feel, sound, or look like Halo. Especially the Master Chief. His armor looks good, but everything else about the character is nothing like the Master Chief. Yeah, he has way too much dialogue, obviously not Steve Downes' voice. He has his helmet off a lot of the time. Other than his armor, nothing about that character reminds me of the Master Chief. Obviously, I would much rather Steve Downes voice Master Chief in this show. If they couldn't get Steve Downes for whatever reason, then you could have Master Chief just stay silent, or you didn't even have to have Master Chief in the show. Any of those three options right there, I would have taken over what we got. Because the Master Chief in this show is not Master Chief. Now, something I mentioned in my review for episode 1 of this show was that I disliked how much human versus human conflict there was. And I also didn't like how they were making Chief out to be the bad guy. And we see more of this in episode 2. We got people pointing guns at Master Chief. They arrested Master Chief. They had him in fucking handcuffs. And then there was that one human leader, I'm not sure what group he was with, but he was executing people. This type of stuff was never explored in the Halo games. Although when it comes to Master Chief, with Halo 5's campaign and the marketing leading up to the release of Halo 5, they did make Master Chief out to look like he might be the bad guy a little bit. But other than that, the human-on-human conflict, Master Chief is the villain, like this is something that never took place in the games. Now, in my last video discussing episode 1 and the things I didn't like and the human-on-human conflict, people were quick to point out that this stuff took place in the Halo books. Yeah, in the Halo books, there were insurrectionist groups and Spartans were created and deployed to take them out. At least that's what I've been told. I haven't read the books. And let me just say this. I think it's safe to say that about 99.9% of people who have played Halo have not read a single fucking Halo book. So if you're trying to explain significant plot points within this show by bringing up a book, just stop. Stop, and that's it. Just stop. I am not disrespecting the Halo novels. I'm not saying they're not canon, that they don't count. No, I'm not saying any of that. Like, I do think it is cool that there are Halo books to go along with the games. I think that is a good way to, explore other areas of this universe. And again, I haven't read any of the Halo books, so there might be some things in those novels that I'm not a huge fan of. But regardless, I think it's cool that there are Halo books which extend the Halo lore. In my episode 1 review of this show, I didn't forget that there were Halo books out there, right? I that wasn't something that just slipped my mind. People were telling me, you're making fun of the showrunner for not doing their research, but you didn't even do your own research. Well, first of all, I never said that the showrunner, Stephen Kane, didn't do his research. I read the headline from Variety where it said something about the Halo TV showrunner not playing the games or something like that. But then I also read Stephen Kane's response where he mentioned, we did look at the games and then we went to 343 to further study the Halo lore. So I never said he didn't do his research. Never said that. Now, when it comes to me, I did my research. I did plenty of research. And that research consisted of playing through the Halo games many times. That's my fucking research. Again, I think it's safe to assume that the overwhelming majority of people have experienced Halo through the games, not the books. And when I say things like, this show is nothing like Halo, or this never happened in Halo before, I'm obviously talking about the games. Everybody was talking about the books. I don't know why people were talking about the books on my last video. I never said anything about a book. I never mentioned a book. All I mentioned was the Halo show and the Halo games, and some of the Halo CGI live-action trailers from back in the day. Nothing about a book. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that the books don't matter, that they're not canon, but when it comes to something like a Halo TV show, which a Halo show or a Halo movie, this is something people have been anticipating for over a decade. People have been looking forward to this for a long time. Not this show in particular, but any kind of Halo show or movie. And so yeah, I do think that this show should have focused on doing a much better job of adapting the Halo that we know from the games, and not so much the books. See, when it comes to the books, I'm okay if there's like a subtle reference to something in the show or in the Halo games that references, something that happened in the books. Like, I'm cool with that, but not major shit where like humans are killing humans and Master Chief's the bad guy, people are shooting at the Master Chief and we put him in handcuffs. Yeah, that type of stuff, that doesn't get justified by pointing to a book. Sorry, doesn't work like that. Halo's primary form is a video game, multiple video games. That is how the overwhelming majority of people experience Halo. So it would make sense for the show to appeal to that overwhelming majority, that 99.9% of Halo fans. Now, when it comes to the relation between the Halo games and the Halo novels, you could argue that the games didn't do a good enough job adapting material within the books. Or you could also argue that the novels took Halo in a direction that it shouldn't have. You could argue either one, but regardless, I feel that this show should have focused on creating something that is much more familiar to fans of the Halo games. And I'm not just saying that because I myself didn't read the books. No, most Halo players didn't read the books. Most Halo fans only know Halo from the video games. And when there are events in the books that are so foreign to people who have only played the Halo games, which again, I think it's safe to say that's like 99.9% of Halo players, I don't think you should take those events and make them major plot points in the Halo show, which people have been looking forward to for an incredibly long time. So I hope you can see where I'm coming from. I'm not disrespecting the books. Again, I think it's cool that there are Halo books. I just feel that this Halo show shouldn't have pulled material from those books as much as it has so far, because it causes the majority of Halo fans to ask themselves, what the fuck am I watching? And I do believe one of the big reasons they're taking the show in the direction they are is because of budget concerns. It's a lot less expensive to have humans fighting humans than having to CGI in a bunch of fucking Covenant. So that could be part of it, but regardless, I still don't like it. Obviously, this Halo show is following a new timeline, what they're calling the Silver Timeline, so that is different from the Halo games, but again, I'm not a fan of that either. And I'm seeing some people say that they don't mind a lot of these things that are different with this show, especially when it comes to the Master Chief. I see people saying, I don't mind that he took his helmet off. I don't mind that it's not Steve Downes. I don't mind how much dialogue he has. Next, instead of saying all that, next time just say, I don't mind Master Chief being nothing like Master Chief. Just say that instead. This is the Halo TV show. Halo. And there are many times when you're watching this show and it doesn't look or sound anything like Halo. I should be getting hit with strong Halo vibes at all times when watching this show. And I'm just not. Many people aren't. Because it is a lot different from what many of us know to be Halo. This show should be about Master Chief fighting Covenant or the Flood with Marines and Cortana in his head, uncovering Forerunner structures and artifacts. Like, that's what this show should be. And there's a tiny bit of that in this show so far, but it's not enough. Instead, I'm seeing humans fighting with humans. Also, there needs to be a lot more Halo music in this show, not this generic-ass action music. I'm not saying that they have to use the exact soundtrack from the Halo games, just something that sounds more Halo-y. There was a little bit of that. I heard a little bit of it in Episode 1 and I think Episode 2, but there's not enough of it. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. I know this wasn't much of a review of Episode 2. It wasn't meant to be. I don't really... Again, I'm not really enjoying the show at all, so I don't really care to discuss things that happened in that episode. But I'm sure many other people have done reviews, so you could watch those if you want. But I just wanted to discuss the relation between the books, the games, and the show. And hopefully you can see where I'm coming from. If you're somebody who is a big fan of the Halo novels, you might love that some of this material is making its way into the show. And I understand that, I get that. But because of the points I made throughout this video, I don't think that was the route they should have went. Anyways, we'll end it there. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.